Bismillah. Read. Okay. Goodbye. Okay, stop there. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Al-Fasl al-Thalithu, the third chapter with regards to what we're discussing here is Babul Mab'athi, the chapter with regards to the prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So there's an interesting hadith here which requires some explanation, narrating the authority on وأن يحيى بن أبي كثير, narrating the authority of Yahya ibn Kathir, قال سألت أبا سلمة أبا سلمة عبد الرحمن, I asked Abu Salma Abd al-Rahman عن أول ما نزل من القرآن, what is the first, the ma means your thing, and in this context what was the first verse that was revealed of the Quran? قال يا أيها المدثر, he said that the verse يا أيها المدثر was revealed. قلت, I said يقولون اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق, but the people say that Iqra was the first revealed, but you are telling me Ya Ayyuhal Muddathir is the first that was revealed. So how do we reconcile? قال Abu Salma, Abu Salma said, سألت جابرا عن ذلك, I also asked Jabir radiallahu ta'ala with regards to this, وقلت له مثل الذي قلت لي, and he said the same thing, that the first thing was revealed was Ya Ayyuhal Muddathir, and I said to him that look, people generally say that اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق. That was the first verse that was revealed. فقال لي جابر, Hazrat Jabir said, لا أحدثك إلا ما حدثنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Look, you telling me what the people say. The people say Iqra is the first thing, but all I can tell you is this here, that I'm not telling you except what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to me. I'm not shooting from the hip. That's what I'm saying. Ya ayyuhal muzdathir is the first verse that has been revealed, right? I heard it from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? إلا ما حدثنا رسول, what Rasul said. قال جاورت. He says, and I'm going to quote to you, I quote the exact words, جاورت بحراء شهرا. I resided in the Ghar Hira for 1 month. فلما قضيت جواري, when I completed my stay, هبطت, I was coming down from the mountains, coming down back to Makkah to Mukarramah, right? فنوديت أيميني, I was called, نادى ينادي, this متكلمة, I was called أيميني, from my right. فلم أرى شيئا شيء, فنوديت, يا نادى ينادي نودية, what فنظرت. Okay, that makes also more sense. Okay, but nuditu, my kitab don't have that. What's, just see what is here on the kitab, on the Bushra print. What's in the kitab? Okay, so that seems like it's a mistake in my one. Fanuditu fanazartu ayyamini. Let me just write it in here one time. Fanuditu fanazartu. right? فنوديت, so he's saying I was called out. فنظرت أن يميني, then I looked towards my right. فلم أرى شيئا, I did not see anything. ونظرت عن شمالي, then I looked towards my to my left. فلم أرى شيئا, I don't see anything. ونظرت عن خلفي, then I looked behind me, right? ونظرت عن خلفي فلم أرى شيئا, I don't see anything. فرفعت رأسي, then I raised my head. فرأيت شيئا, then I saw something. يعني I saw as a Jibreel, I mean in the sky. فأتيت خديجة, I came to Hazrat Khadija رضي الله تعالى عنها, right? فقلت دثروني, دثروني, cover me, I'm a bit shaken up. وصبوا علي ماء, and please pour some water on me. ماء فنزلت, and this verse was revealed. يا أيها المدثر, oh the one who wraps himself, قم, stand, فأنذر, and warn. وربك فكبر, and your Rabb, make takbir of him. وثيابك فطهر, and your clothes purified. والرجز فهجر, and impurity, dirt, filth, فهجر, be distant, leave it. وذلك قبل أن تفرض الصلاة, and this was before salat actually became faraz. متفق عليه, and it's a متفق عليه riwayat. Okay, we got the translation, alhamdulillah. The relevance of this hadith for the chapter is quite obvious. The relevance is with regards to wahi, with regards to Nabi Sallam's commissioning as a prophet, etc. So the relevance is quite obvious. So what we got here in the hadith is that the names, let me just get the right names right here. So Yahya ibn Abi Kathir asked, you see, they asked Abu Salma ibn al-Rahman with regards to the first verse that was revealed, and he said he heard from Hazrat Jabir, and he said also, I also told Hazrat Jabir, look here, I heard it, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq is the verse that was being revealed, but you telling me now that it was Ya ayyuhal muddathir, right? So Hazrat Jabir said, look here, you want to object to me? This point is objecting to me. All I'm doing is I'm telling you exactly as I heard from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then Jabir quoted verbatim exactly what he heard, right? So a simple way of reconciling between this. We know, we've done the hadith, Babu Badil Wahyi, etc., that Nabi Sallallahu said the first hadith, the first verse that was revealed was Iqra Bismi. In fact, the first four ayat of Iqra, simple, the reconciliation is simple. We say that the Iqra Bismi Rabbika Alladhi is the first verses that was revealed. And Ya Ayyuha Muddathir is the first complete surah that was been revealed. Understood? So all those texts that speak about the first verses is correct. It's Iqra Bismi Rabbika Alladhi Khalaq, Khalaq al-Insana min alaq, Ika wa Rabbuk al-Akram, Alladhi Allama bil Qalam, that four, right? That refers, and this hadith here speaks about the first verses being Ya Ayyuha Muddathir, is speaking about the first complete surah that was revealed. We know, you people done also, you studied that when you do your usul tafsir, that certain times, certain verses was revealed, and then at another time, a verse was then verses from another surah was revealed, and then from another time. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, also from um, uh, uh, we, what we learn also from this is that whenever a verse was revealed, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would say, take this verse and surah. Take this verse and put it in, I'm sure you've done it in the surah of Tafsir, ne? Take this verse and put it in that surah. So what the point I'm like to make is the verses were not revealed in surah form or complete surah form. At different times, different verses from different surahs was informed, and then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would give the Sahaba Ikram or the Katibin a wahi that this verse belongs to this surah and this verse belongs to that surah. Are you with me? So Alhamdulillah, with the grace of Allah Ta'ala, we have come to the end of that chapter there, the chapter of Babul Mab'athi wa Badil Wahi, the chapter of Mab'ath, the Nabi Sallallahu being commissioned, the Prophet, wa Badil Wahi, and the beginning of Wahi. Allah Ta'ala accepts from us, Allah Ta'ala accept our broken efforts. Where can we fulfill the right of the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu? Only His grace in his favor that we are discussing the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah Ta'ala also make it a means of ithal sawab for all our marhumin parents, husbands, wives, grandparents, through the barakah of the recitation, through the barakah of the reading of the hadith. Allah Ta'ala forgive all the shortcomings. Right, Babu Alamati Nubuwa. Right, is a jama of alamatun. So the how you do jama muannas salim, when you make it jama, you just put the alif there, alamatun. So alamat, right? So normally alamat means like a sign by which you could recognize something. So in this context here, babu alamat in nubuwati, what it means is those signs by which you could recognize that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not an ordinary person. He's a Nabi of Allah Ta'ala. See, one is the translation of the word, and one is in the contextual meaning. You understand what I'm saying? So the contextual meaning is those things when a person saw it, it does, it's not an ordinary human being. This is a special human being. This is a person that has been commissioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the interesting thing here is this here. See, here you got the chapter of Babu Alamat. Look nicely. After a few pages, we got the chapter of, this is not a very long chapter. You'll see there after that, you've got after Mi'raj, you've got Mi'raj, guys to the maybe I just the word in the Arabic something which can. No, it's not on yet. It's not on. Okay, we're on. We're on again. Okay. So Bismillah, I'm sorry about that. We had a bit of a break in the network there. So I was telling you, so after this, there's a chapter with regards to miracles. Miracles. A miracle is something, and it comes from the word a'jaza, yu'ajizu. A'jaz means it incapacitates you. You are left without a logical explanation for what has transpired, right? So so we've got two separate chapters here, Babu Alamatin Nubuwa, and we've got Babu Mu'jizati, right? So now what are the difference? Because normally a miracle is a sign of the nubuwwat. When a prophet does something which is out of the ordinary, like maybe splitting of the moon or whatever, that is something out of ordinary. So hence many shurrah, many commentators of Mishkaat Shareef they said that, look here, there's no difference between alamat and nubuwah and mu'jizat. It's actually the same thing because a miracle is also a sign of nubuwah. Are you with me? So those ulama that say that alamat and mu'jizat is the same thing, then the question comes about why did Khatib Tabrezi, the original author, why did he bring two separate subjects? Why did he bring Babu Alamat in Nubuwa and why did he bring Babu Mu'jizat? Why did he bring a chapter, the signs of Nubuwat, and a chapter, the miracles of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? So you understood what I'm saying? If you take it in the same meaning, then what was the idea of mentioning it separately? Then he could have just bring one chapter heading and put both underneath there. Are you with me? So those ulama that say that it is one and the same thing, they say we can't understand. We can't give any logical explanation as to why Khatib Tabrezi, the original author, why he brought two separate. Because if you look at it, both chapters, they more or less deal with the same thing. Are you with me? But yet the Sharih here, not the Kitab, this commentary which I have in Urdu here, the scholar's name is uh, uh, Father Muhammad, he says, according to my weak understanding, I think there is a difference. What he say? I think there is a difference between alamatun nubuwa and mu'jiza. Are you following? And this he say, this is what he said. The difference is, like I told you earlier, a mu'jiza is that thing when it happens in front of somebody. You say, as the word suggests, "A'jaza yu'jizu mu'jizun," it renders you speechless. If some, like for example, somebody here walks in the air or somebody's flying in the air, you have no logical explanation. So it's a mu'jiza is something that it renders you speechless. And alama doesn't necessarily render you speechless. That's a difference, right? So alamat is something which is a sign that this person is a prophet. Listen nicely. But there is some type of explanation for it or something like that. It doesn't leave you without a speech. There's one difference between the two. And another difference he mentioned here, that a, a mu'jiza is something which force and constrain a person to believe. And alama doesn't really force you. Like we done that verse. الذين يجدون مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل يأمرون بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر. So like that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he calls towards good, he prohibits evil, and all the signs, he's a truthful person, and all that type of thing. That is not, it doesn't leave you speechless. So it could be a sign, but something which is out of the ordinary. What we term in Arabic is kharikun anil ada, out of the ordinary. That is a mu'jiza. Are you with me? Is that quite clear? And another explanation what he give here also is this here, which is interesting. Maybe this will come out in the exams even. That alamat is something that could have happened before nubuwwat. As we're going to do from the hadith here, you will see very beautiful hadith. The first hadith about shakku sadr, and mu'jiza is something which happens after nubuwwat. Are you with me? So you got two differences there. One is alamat is just a sign by which you recognize something, but it is not something which renders you speechless. It is not something which renders you unable to furnish a logical explanation, right? And then the second difference is alamat could be before nubuwwat and mu'jiza is after nubuwwat. Okay, so read there, Babu alamat in the Fasl Awal, the first Fasl, Bismillah. Read loud, come closer. You got Sari'a or Sara'a? Fasara'ahu, right? I got also. Alaqatan. This also comes خلق الإنسان من علق. And also, if you look at the embryonic development, min alaqatin thumma min mudghatin, etc., etc. Carry on. Thumma la'amahu yuqadeh. Right, okay? Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This hadith here, before we translate it, is speaking about the incident, is speaking about Shaq al-Sadr. We're going to discuss this in detail. We're going to give you some explanation. And also, this is the first Shaq al-Sadr what happened while Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in the care of Halima Sa'diya, right? So, Anas in narrating the authority of the Anas, Anna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Atahu Jibrailu, Jibrail, I mean, came to him وهو يلعب مع الغلمان while he was playing with the young boys. Right? Remember, we discussed this before. It was a custom among the Arabs. They would send the young children, the young boys to the countryside so they can learn pure Arabic and that they could play, they could become strong, etc., etc. So, وهو يلعب مع الغلمان while she was playing with the children. فأخذه. So here Jibril came. He took hold of him. فَسَرَعَهُ. Remember that word we done yesterday? رَأَيْتُهُمْ صَرَعًا. I saw all of them fallen down on the ground. We told you صَرَعًا is actually masru'un, right? Sari'un becomes masru'un, and that is a jama sara'a. So fasara'ahu, he made him lay down, he laid him down on the ground. Fashaqqa an qalbihi, and then he cut open from his heart. In other words, he cut open, actually never cut the heart, but he cut open the chest to get to the heart. So fashaqqa an qalbihi, he cut open for the sake of his heart. Fastakhraja minhu alaqatan, and he removed from him, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a clot of blood. Right? قال هذا حظ الشيطان. He said, this is the portion of shaitan minka, from you. ثم غسله في طست من ذهب. Then he washed him in a utensil from gold. بماء زمزم. Right? He washed it, his heart, in the right hand. Right, and this fasalahu fit in a utensil from gold with the water of Zamzam. ثم لأمه وأعاده. Okay, ثم لأمه. So he soaked it in the Zamzam, right? وأعاده في مكانه. Then he put it back in its place. وجاء الغلمان. Then the children came يسعون, running إلى أمه, to his mother. And in this context, mother means to his caregiver, right? يعني ضئره. What you got there? Right? To dress it, to right, to repair, to mend it, right? يسعون إلى أمه يعني ذئره فقالوا إن محمدا قد قتل. And he said, hey, they were shaken up by what they saw, that people came, they cut open his heart and they took his heart out, etc. He said, Muhammad قد قتل, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been killed. All right? فاستقبلوه. They hastened towards him. وهو منتقى اللون. منتقى اللون means he was, you can say, pale of color. You can say, like, somebody shaken up. Now imagine, just to understand this, maybe somebody just narrowly missed a serious accident the person is shaken up. You see that person is pale. You see that person look like he's seen a ghost or something like it. So he was pale of color. This is also إضافة إلى التخصيص, right? قال أنس كنت أرى أثر المخيط في صدره. I would see the effects or the sign of the sewing في صدره on his chest. رواه مسلم. Imam Muslim narrates this particular riwayat. Yeah, so you can say ثم لأمه, he made it correct, he mended it. I was telling you this hadith here speaks about the interesting and beautiful aspect of shaq al-sadr, to open the heart. Shaq al-sadr means to open the heart, to cut open the chest, take out the heart, and remove a like a dark red blackish clot of blood, to remove that, and then to fix the heart, and then to put it back in. And then, according to this hadith, for the rest of his life, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a mark on his chest as a result of this. And this is in like in technical terms, or you can say it's known either as shaq sadr or sharh sadr, one of the two, right? Now, there's an interesting fact here for you that shaq sadr or sharh sadr, it happened 4 times in the life of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first one is this one here, which we're discussing in the company of Halima Sa'adiyah, right? This was the first one, Halima Sa'adiyah, when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in her care. And here he was still a young boy. The second Sharh al-Sadr or Shaq al-Sadr was when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 10 years old. Remember this fact. It's a nice for the exams also question. Third Shaq al-Sadr, Sharh al-Sadr was at the time of Nubuwat, when he got Nubuwat. This will come, inshallah, we'll do the hadith also. That was the age of 40 years. And then the fourth Sharh al-Sadr, we'll do this also. This hadith will come also. Right? Okay, just request to repeat the words. So this act of cutting open the chest of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, removing the heart, and removing the black cloth and then washing it in Zamzam is either it's either known as Shaqqu Sadr, Sheen Qaf, Shaqqu and Sadr, Sadara, or Sharhu Sadr, Sheen Raha. So it's either Shaqqu Sadr or either it is Sharhu Sadr, right? So the heart was removed, a black cloth was like black streak or whatever was removed from the, and then it was washed in Zamzam, and then it was put back in and sewn up. Right. So the fourth one was at the time of Mi'raj. So Hazrat Jibril said, هذا حظ الشيطان. We know for a fact, those who are us also from the beginning, from Mishkaat, we know that a person has two forces that is at play with him at all time, right? One is the one that incites him towards good, and one is the one that incites him towards bad. You know, when we were small, you used to get Archie comics. I don't know if you get Archie comics anymore. The Archie comic, you see on your right shoulder, you have like an angel there telling you to do good, and your left shoulder, you got like a devil telling you to do bad. So there is some essence to that. There is some truth to that. Probably it's also in the Christian religion. That is how it made its way to the Archie comic. But the fact is, from an Islamic perspective, there is also Kiram and Katibin, all that type of thing. So one is an angel and one is a shaitan. So in the chambers of the heart, there is two places, right? This is interesting here. Also, you can remember this terminology for future. A good thought that comes into that is called ilhamun. That's why as Umar is called al-mulham bis-sawab. That person who was inspired to do good all the time. We know that he's got inspiration. So ilham, mulham, right? And the bad thought that comes out is called waswasa. Remember we done this in the beginning of Mishkaat Shareef. Maybe you do it on zero. You done it on zero. So one is ilham. If you haven't done it, you still do it. Ilham and waswasa. So there is a place in the heart for the ilhamat, and there's a place in the heart for the wasawis. So obviously, whoever's effect is greater, we'll say the heart is in that person's control. And once the heart is affected, then the whole body is affected. That's why there's hadith say, ألا إن في الجسد لمضغة إذا صلح صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسد فسد الجسد كله. Remember, so whoever is the dominant force in the heart, right? So what Jibril, I'm just saying, هذا حظ الشيطان. So the portion which shaitan could influence, that has been removed. So what does that mean? Look, man, what does it mean? That means that shaitan has got no control. You can say, like in our terminology, to understand this in simple, there's no reception at all for shaitan. Like, like how the phone is totally useless if there's no reception. You can have the best phone, but if it's not linked up to any of the networks, what? You can't make a call, you can't get a message. So yeah, the portion, you can say the antenna or the area where shaitan could affect a person, that has been removed from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam completely, to such an extent that shaitan has been freed from the influences of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has been freed from the influence of shaitan. So he's only guided. And this is also expressed in another word. Remember, we done in the beginning of Mishkat, if you never do it, you still do it. That Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that every person, lahu qareen, he has a shaitan with him. But then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, my shaitan aslama. And there's two explanations. One is he's become a Muslim, and one almost say Uslamu. I've been saved from him. And that is also, remember, we the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we speak about Ismatul Anbiya, that the Anbiya are divinely protected from sin. So this also has some basis to show that the Anbiya have been protected from sin. So they don't have, shaitan cannot influence them. And obviously, logically, a Nabi has been sent to guide. Why the whole purpose of a Nabi is to guide people, right? So it makes sense that the Nabi must be free from any shaitan influence. How can a person who's been sent to guide bad kind uh, have the capacity or the ability to be influenced by shaitan, unlike other human beings? So here there's an interesting discussion. I won't go too much into detail. They say, look here, if this portion was not necessary, why is Allah Ta'ala creating Nabi Sallallahu in the first place? The answer is pretty simple. What Nabi Sallallahu said, we done this verse in Tafsir. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. I'm not an angel. I'm not an abnormal human being. I'm a human being like you, right? I've been sent for the gainers of mankind, etc. And so, and the why is it that Allah Ta'ala made all the Anbiya alayhi salatu wa taslim human beings, so that they can be relatable, so that they can be relatable. We as human beings, we can't say, oh, he's he's an angel, or he's an abnormal human being. How can we follow him, etc. So he's created as a complete human being, so he's relatable, and we can follow his every move. So he's Kamil Bashariyat. So Zamzam, yeah, it was washed with Zamzam. Interesting discussion here that the Shari say, why didn't Allah Ta'ala send Jibreel Amin came all the way from Jannat or from heaven or from the skies. He could have brought water from Jannat, but why did he was instructed to use the water of Zamzam? Yeah, the Shari said this shows you that the water of Zamzam is just as good as water of Jannah. What? The water of Zamzam is just as good as the water of. That's why there's narrations that say that the water of Zamzam comes from Jannat. And just that's not in the Kitab, but by the way, in the Malfuz of Hazrat Mufti Mahmud Saab, you must have heard about Hazrat Mahmud Saab, was the Grand Mufti India. He asked like a, you can say like a quiz question, what is the most virtuous water to have ever flown, if flow, FLOW, that overflowed. You know, what's a flow? Yeah, no, it's wrong. Flow needs to fly there. That flowed. What is the most virtuous water that ever flowed in the dunya? What will you say? Loud? You say the water of Zamzam. Yes, definitely the water of Zamzam is virtuous, but more virtuous than that is, remember Bayatul Ridwan, when there was a shortage of water and the water flowed from the fingers of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You heard about this instance? I'm sure you must have done in Qasas part 5. You say that water that flowed from the Mubarak fingers of Nabi Sallallahu, that is the most virtuous water that ever flowed in this dunya. So remember that. Maybe you've got a question. Then Muntaqa'ul Lawn, I told you this is also like إضافة إلى التخصيص, where the مضاف إليه comes, the مضاف إليه comes in the meaning of, the مضاف is actually the موصوف. So you can say لو كان له لون منتقع, like I told you, when you shaken up, you know, you say if somebody shaken up, say as though this guy saw a ghost, he looked like he saw a ghost, you become pale. Yeah, this is the right word. The blood drains from your face. So this is obviously this was a harrowing experience. A young boy, somebody came and took out his heart. No, what you call is open heart surgery. What? Open heart surgery. And obviously he was immunized against the pain, whatever. So muntaqa'ul lawni means the color of his face changed, or you can say the color drained out of his face. The color drained out of his face. Atharul makhiti, I told you that this is interesting. The Sahabi says, remember we done in the physical features of Nabi Sallallahu, he had this beautiful line in the words, and I told you this was a sifat mamduda. It was a sought after sifat in the Arabs for the men to have a thin hair of a line going from the chest down to the navel. So here the Sahabi says that I would see atharul makhiti, I would see the sign of that split of the chest there on Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, let's still some time. We can just do another one, okay, before we switch over. Let's do another one, inshallah. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن جابر بن سمرة قال قال إني لأعرف حجرا بمكة كان يسلم علي قبل أن أبعث إني لأعرف والآن رواه مسلم. Remember I told you at the beginning of the discussion that the author here says the difference between alamat in nubuwa and what? And mu'jizat, because mu'jizat will come later. Alamat in nubuwa refer to those things that happen before nubuwat as well. And we know this here. You know the Qasida Burda, Sha'at al-Ashjaru sajidatan, the trees came to him making sajda. So these all, so this alamat nubuwah will include things that happened prior to nubuwah. So there you can see the right now authority of Jabir in Samurai says, Rasulullah said, Inni la'arifu, I know the rock in Makkah, right? Kana yusallimu alayya. Right, so yeah, Nabi Sallallahu is saying, I can still remember vividly, I have a vivid recollection in me, right? لأعرف حجرا, the rock بمكة in Makkah, كان يسلم, I used to make salam upon me قبل أن أبعث. So this is majhul. Before I was commissioned as a Nabi, إني لأعرفها الآن. I know it still till now. I can tell you, Rawah Muslim and Imam Muslim narrates this particular riwayat. Okay, so the relevance of this riwayat here is pretty obvious that uh, these are the signs that showed Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wasn't an ordinary human being, he was a special human being. And according to our Sharih Mulana, the Father Muhammad Saab, he says that that alamat refer to those things before nubuwwat and mu'jizat refer to after nubuwwat. So it perfectly fits in there. Nice, alhamdulillah. Okay, read one more riwayat. أي يريهم Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن أنس narrating authority of Anas رضي الله تعالى عنه قال إن أهل مكة, the people of Makkah, سألوا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, ask Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم that you claim you are a prophet, you claim you've been sent by Allah Ta'ala with a message. Give us some sign, show us that you are not an ordinary human being, show us you are different. So أي يريهم أرى يرينا يري, and then obviously Ayman Qusa comes back, right? Then he must show them ayatan, some sign that is a different human being. فأراهم القمر. I got here shiqqataini. What you got? But just check here in this. Also means two portions. There's a ittaqun nara walau bi shiqqi tamratin walau bi shaqqi tamratin. So he showed them the moon in two portions to such an extent hatta ra'aw, until they saw hira bainahuma. When the moon, what they, when the moon split asunder, they could actually see the Ghar Hira. So probably the moon was in the direction of Ghar Hira at that time. So it split apart and they could actually see the Ghar Hira between Muttafaqun alayhi, there's a Muttafaq alayhi riwayat. So here in the Shara is mentioned that if you look, this was a great miracle. It was something magnanimous. So how come so many people didn't accept Islam as a result of it? So here the Shareef is saying that this was something which happened at night, and there weren't many people there. So probably many people never witnessed this, and so it wasn't like a big event that many people saw. This was after Nubuwwat. This was after Nubuwwat. So it was not an interesting thing here. We always discuss this. We say that, the people always demand miracles from the prophets. And the prophets, they don't always produce the miracle. They will produce the miracle when Allah Ta'ala wants them to produce a miracle. So there's two reasons. Like when you do tafsir of the Quran, you'll see a lot of places the people are demanding, you claim you are a prophet, show us some sign that you are not an ordinary person. So the prophet wouldn't just sporadically produce a miracle for two reasons. There are many reasons, but two reasons come to my mind. The first reason is this here, that Allah Ta'ala obviously wants to show that He's in control, that it's not the prophet that does. Everything is subject to the law, everything is subject to the hukum of Allah Ta'ala. When Allah Ta'ala wants it that the prophet must produce a miracle, then the prophet will be able to produce a miracle. So in other words, to show that Allah Ta'ala is the ilah and the insan is the abd. That's one. And another reason is this: when a miracle manifests itself and people do not accept, then the punishment of Allah Ta'ala becomes lazim. Like, similar to this, like, your child, your son is asking you for everything. He says, okay, I'm going to give you this, but now you be careful. If you fail, you're going to see what is going to happen to you. I'm going to buy you that bike. I'm going to buy you that motorbike. I'm going to buy you that bicycle. But if you fail, you see what it will do to you. Right? So same thing. So it was actually the mercy of Allah Ta'ala that he was, you can say, conservative with the happenings of the miracle, you understood? So here also it's mentioned that maybe one of the reasons that the miracle was concealed, that if everybody had to see the miracle and did not accept the miracle, then the punishment of Allah Ta'ala would become lazim. You understand what I'm saying? Here also it's mentioned that the Ahlut the historians, they have, although that I told you the tarihi riwayat are not so strong, but the historians, they've got tawatur. And amongst them, that means there's so many historical narrations that speak about this that it's difficult to believe that they conspired to lie. Then also, that when we read this verse, اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر, that the final hour has come close, وانشق القمر, and the moon has split asunder. So majority, if not all of the Mufassirin, they say that this refer to the miracle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Refer to the miracle of Rasulullah. I remember reading somewhere also that in the history books there was a king, a Hindu king in India that actually witnessed this, and he saw this, and he recorded it. So there is some type of record actually of this incident. There is some type of record of this incident. But nevertheless, um, the words of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is good enough for us. Okay, I see time is up. We'll stop there now. We'll switch over to the tafsir, inshallah.